Hey guys, hope you're well. Today we'll finally be taking a look at the Canelo versus Crawford fight, the round 9 that I've been wanting to break down for so long now. I finally found an excellent video by Turtle Vlogs, who recorded and uploaded this fight from his angle. So that's what I'll be using today. I'll put the video in the comment section and description if anyone's interested. So big thanks to him. But anyway, let's get into this performance and look at some of the details and how Crawford managed to beat Canelo. Okay, so let's start by watching these first 30 seconds. Now, with the context that we know about this fight, Canelo wants to start aggressively this round. So Crawford, who straight away commands the center with this nice high guard to the temples, takes a couple of steps back just to maintain the distance well and looks for defense as Canelo's going to come in with his first jab to the gloves, take the outside foot position and pull down the lead glove of Crawford before trying to shoot this right hand. Crawford shows some beautiful defense. He's going to take a step out with his back foot as he sees Canelo's intent to pull down the guard. He takes another step back, slips off slightly to the side, has been a little bit lucky there, but keeps his head offline. And as he sees Canelo in this overextend position, finds a forearm frame to the chest and arm to stabilize him in this poor position. What can he do after that? Find his hook, follow up with his uppercut, and then a long hook as Canelo pulls back. Credit to his freakish reach there and beautiful punch selection there as he's now exploited the pull position from Canelo. And the last punch expected would be this hook to the body, flowing really nicely before taking a step out with his right foot and pivoting off to change the angle. Canelo retaliates with this left hook. Crawford just manages to widen his base, pull back, but I do think it catches him. And then paired with this angle change as well as barely missing the punch, Canelo's now super off balance. Crawford counters over the top with this jab, takes another step out to the right to change the angle, waits to see if he can find the range, but Canelo's pulled back too far. Now Canelo's annoyed, but he's being cautious. He's walking him down to the right. Crawford taking subtle back steps, is still using that temple guard to look for a counter, sees this oncoming attack coming from Canelo where he feints really well into a hook to the body, except Crawford squeezes, widens his base and bends his legs, manages to catch the shot on the elbow before again pulling Canelo's head close with his forearm, using it to pull him into an uppercut, keeps it on the side of Canelo's trap, which limits the front hand of Canelo at the close range position, knows he's going to come for a right-handed shot, so tucks in, looks for another counter, catches this right hook to the body from Canelo and comes back with another uppercut, lovely shot, gets super bladed with his shoulder because one thing that Crawford does insanely well is sequence his counters together, so he's looking for another right now. But as he sees that Canelo's in this squeeze position from a little bit of a longer range, he touches out a little bit with the front hand before shooting this lovely left hand to the body here, occupying the high guard. Then again, Canelo has done the right thing by stepping around to the right, squaring up Crawford. Crawford does realize this though, so he gets super bladed, readjusts his front foot, gets behind his front shoulder, and again looks for a counter, catches this shot, turns his hip so he can turn back in with the left hand, frames immediately with the forearm on Canelo's squeeze so it blocks his options a little bit, and then keeps him at range, pushes him off a little bit. Canelo's loading up for a shot now, which Crawford can see because of this frame to the chest, and Crawford thinks I can definitely beat him to the punch here, so as Canelo widens his shot, Crawford comes very close with it and boom, lands this left uppercut to the ear, gets sideways on immediately, catches this left hook more on the hip, and then boom, 4 shots straight off. Again, wonderful rhythm and punch selection before using this sort of pivot off to the right, letting Canelo walk himself on, except Canelo's come too aggressively now and squared his base while Crawford's looking for touch jabs and measures, and Crawford just occupies him a little bit with the jabs, comes around with that super long left hook, and then follows up with this lead hook and a rear uppercut before catching him again in between as Canelo's loading up with this right hook that finishes off the momentum he was using. Immediately sticks his left hand up as he changes the angle, knows the rear hand is coming, manages to block it, keeps the forearm frame on the chest as he changes the angle. His left hand is up because he knows that Canelo's only option is the right hand here since he's blocking off his lead hand punching lane. Canelo, as predicted, loads up, shoots the right hand which Crawford manages to pull away from with that wonderful back foot step out, manages to find a measurement with a touch jab straight away and then try to come in with this left hand, but Canelo manages to pull away. Lovely defense by both men there. Crawford stepping back, he's using his high guard to look for defense. As he sees Canelo come forward, he tries to simultaneously catching him coming in with his hook, Canelo reads this though, gets under with the forearm and gets as close to the chest as possible. Off to this inside angle, he readjusts himself. Takes a little bit too long in my opinion to try and load up onto this right hand, which is a common theme in this fight. Crawford immediately does the correct thing, which is squeeze in this square base, manages to defend it really well from this square position, tries to come back with his own hook, which to be fair to him is very short. Just Canelo's instincts are incredible here. As you can see, he just pulls away, uses the lead hand to sort of set him in position and then counter back with his own right hand. Now, obviously, getting hit like this comes with the territory at this close range position, but Crawford does manage to squeeze in his left-hand position, which I think manages to absorb the impact a bit as he takes the angle. Now, after changing the angle, he's going to use a couple of back steps. Canelo's now conditioned a little bit at this close range position, so Crawford's going to mix it up. And as he finds his base again, he's going to let Canelo walk himself onto this jab here, which lands really well, trying to continue to turn Canelo's hip position to adjust to him by moving around to his right. Here he takes a step out, resets and uses shuffle steps to his right. Canelo's having to shuffle over to cut him off, which he does well. Crawford slows this down into a walk, is still sideways on, realizes he's cut off to the right, so he decides to go left instead. He sort of shuffles himself into the ropes and he's like, you know what, I don't need to move again. I know he's about to attack, so I'm going to lift my guard up, squeeze and wait to smother him and clinch. So he wraps around his lead arm and Canelo actually tries to work his free hand but ends up using a headbutt here, so the referee takes a timeout. Okay, so they come back out of this timeout. Crawford immediately shuffles off to the center, uses his high guard look as he starts to step back just to maintain the distance from Canelo. Canelo a little bit square on, so what Crawford does is touch out to his lead glove, which gets Canelo to raise it and creates an opening just underneath for this nice little jab as he slightly moves around to his right, creating a different angle and having to make Canelo readjust a little bit. Now he takes a step back once Canelo feints in a little bit harder, and if you look at his right foot here, he takes it back before moving around to his right in a circle step, which creates even more distance than a normal circle step, of course, though obviously there's the risk of squaring up. I like to call it long right or long left if you're unorthodox. Anyway, he continues to circle around. Canelo has to catch up to him. As he does, Crawford sets his feet with this nice sort of level change feint, gets Canelo a little bit reactive. He continues the tiny steps back. He looks for a counter, as you can see by him raising his lead glove up to get a little bit more bladed, and sees that Canelo's shooting that famous left hook to the body. He puts his back foot all the way back to widen his base, forces Canelo to overlean in this position, and then tries for his counter 2, followed up by a short 3, which I think kind of lands, but he kind of decides to keep it there, which allows him to sort of push Canelo's head to the side as he takes the angle. Very nice exit there from Crawford, and he shuffles back to the center, square on of course, but immediately gets sideways on and looks for that pull. Once Canelo catches up to him quickly, again is stepping back, looking for the counter, sees it again, pulls back this time with that rear glove coming up, lets that right hand slide off the shoulder. It squares up Canelo. Crawford again trying to use the forearm to frame and keep him in position for this left hand, but it doesn't work. So instead he tracks his head movement with his other forearm, which is just missed, and uses it to land this great hook to the body, which honestly doesn't come to everyone easily, this combination punching that Crawford's doing. Anyway, he continues to step back, breaks his momentum by setting his feet and letting Canelo walk onto this left hand to the body, which is a little bit low, and then continues his backward momentum, keeping his hand feints and level changes just to make Canelo hesitant. We can go a little bit faster these next 20 seconds, I think. You see Canelo come forward looking for a counter. He parries the left hand, which is shot offline by Crawford, so he can set up his front hand hook as he takes the angle, but it's smothered and they both don't really land anything here. Crawford manages to change where his back was facing though, and is no longer facing the corner with his back. Changes the angle and now is going to start to move around to the right. So he starts by circling off with a jab. Canelo parries it, but it's helped him find his range. As he crosses over with his feet, he realizes he's a bit too close, so he steps back, which lets him avoid this left hook here. Of course, as you circle into someone's lead hand side, you're closing the distance for them. So you have to be cautious of what they can throw from the side you're circling to, as Crawford is here. He decides to go into a longer reset as he just moves around to his right, skips off a bit as he slows down the movement, moves to his left instead. And same thing as before, he sets his movement momentarily as he moves to his left because he realizes that Canelo will probably commit to his right hand. So he just waits for it. He's very patient. He looks for it, sees it coming. I think tries to get a parry hand on it, but it does land. But sees Canelo isn't committing to anything more. So he just allows himself to step back, create space first, break his base before resetting out to his right, but this time misdirecting and walking to his left. Now this time he's near a corner, he needs to exit. He isn't going to set his feet and just look for defense like he did before. He sees Canelo approach with the high guard, so he just occupies him with his left hand to the guard whilst moving to the left, and then hits the guard with his hook before keeping him there, taking a step out as he frames with his rear hand forearm, putting Canelo's balance completely off, which allows him to get away from this right hand to the body as he shuffles back and resets out to the right. Really nice use of frames there after punching, which is really hard to do in my opinion. So again, resets out to his right, sees that Canelo is about to cut off that side, so he decides, okay, I can trust my counters again. I'm going to step a little bit towards my left, maintain the distance going backwards. Right now he's in that sort of low lead hand position where he's again looking for a counter, occupies that lead hand side, raises the guard a little bit from this touch jab, sneaks one in the middle as he steps back. As you can see, a lot of boxers, and you might want to check yourself here, because a lot of boxers only throw their jabs coming forward. Crawford's showing, no, I don't have to go forwards with my jab where I run the risk of getting countered quite hard. I can go backwards with it as well. After this, he knows he's kind of baited Canelo into retaliating, so he takes this extra step out after the jab, waits for the right hand to come. Canelo will probably be aggressive with his right hand since he's occupied that lead hand punching lane quite a bit with the jabs. So he waits for it. Rear foot steps out, widens his base to get more balance, catches the right hand on the glove, and then boom, looks for this left hand counter over the top, which lands near the neck area, I think, but definitely gets Canelo's respect. And what does he do after this? From the space that he's now created with this counter, sending Canelo off balance, since he made him overlean a little bit, he's not going to come forward, he's just going to move out to the right, away from the corner, go into a long reset before stopping his feet once he has more space behind him. Now, once he sets his feet, he immediately looks for defense again in that low lead hand position. Canelo's coming forward very subtly towards that inside angle, and credit to Canelo, he's going to do something sneaky and something that he doesn't do a lot, which is slip onto the inside just a little bit as a look, and then bring up the sort of left uppercut into this right hand. Now, it definitely gets to Crawford's chin, this left uppercut, and Crawford has the right sense of mind to go under this right hand, get to the chest of Canelo, and then make sure he's clenched up and safe from that shot he didn't really see coming. So they break away from this clinch, they get back into it. Crawford immediately takes the center and starts his step back movement with slip looks, just maintaining the distance he wants so he can make Canelo overlean so he can counter. And how's he going to do this? He's going to bait him by using a touch jab as he moves backwards. Canelo gets reactive and slips it, so he knows he needs to look for a counter now. Good read off the jab. Canelo lunges into that right side. Again, why? Because he's occupied that lead hand punching lane and forced Canelo to think about his right hand, which Canelo's happy to do. Loads up, Crawford's back foot slides out, brings his left glove up to block the right hand, and then as he's moving backwards, tries to counter with his own hook. Now, I actually think Canelo's force gets the better of this exchange, but Crawford had a very intelligent reading of the situation, and even if this shot didn't land at the end, it still makes Canelo think that whatever I throw, if I overcommit, he's going to counter straight away. So Crawford changes the angle, skips out to his right, forces Canelo's hip position to change, uses a high guard look, then a low lead hand look, getting a little bit more bladed now, then offline with the right slip position as he's done before. And this time, this is a pretty famous clip of him landing that famous double left hand, but if you remember earlier, this is also the way Crawford likes to set up his right hook. So he slips offline with a touch left hand and then tries to shuffle out with his right hook. But Canelo parries this, which Crawford knew earlier because he hasn't had much success with this combination. That creates an opening for the right side of Canelo, and then boom, Crawford manages to generate force, by stepping in with his back foot to this backhand hook. I'm surprised it works that well. Rolls out immediately just in case. It's a nice shot, but it's a nice setup mainly because of the reads that he was making before. So again, moving out to his right, moving backwards, using a high guard look as he sees Canelo get more aggressive in case he has to go to close range. Takes his step to the right as he moves with his jab, forces Canelo to put his weight on his back foot, which gives him time to break his base and reset off. Misdirects once Canelo's cut him off, creates a little bit more distance there as he walks over to his left, and then as he's walking, feints him very well to change the tempo, continues moving to the left until he sees Canelo will retaliate from that feint, and decides to force the exit to the right by squeezing into his rear side, by squeezing into his lead side, and blocking the left hook as he moves around. You can see the weight of that shot, which I don't think lands, as it just moves Crawford's whole body. But he did a very good job there of forcing the exit when it feels like you have no space to move into, which is obviously a deception. You have loads of space to move into, but you feel blocked off. And Crawford decides he's not blocked off and decides to go there anyway, knowing that he will probably have to absorb something onto the guard. And that's always the markings for me of a high-level boxer, is when they force the reset to a direction where they might feel blocked off. So he moves all the way around, hops a little bit, and as he sets his feet, instantly jabs. Good tempo change there. Canelo does a good job of parrying it. Now he's moving backwards, but not straight backwards, a little bit off to the left as he uses his front hand feints, walks over before setting his feet, and then starts to use some slip looks, which get Canelo a little bit wary since he knows Crawford's dangerous of them. Crawford manages to occupy that lead side with just touch jabs as he moves backwards, again engaging into some slip looks, which he's created a threat with now that he's established that he can punch off it. They're both being very patient here. Canelo is looking for a counter at the same time Crawford is, being very respectful of each other's baits. You see Crawford feinting there, and then what he's going to do is touch the high guard of Canelo without overcommitting. Just 3 times, occupying that guard as he takes the angle change to his right. Both of them not doing enough for them to look for a counter, and Crawford feels like he is in an unfavourable position, so just decides to reset off to the right instead. Canelo cuts him, so he misdirects and goes to the left instead, and then he's going to widen his base, use the same slip looks that he did before, so a very similar exchange, this time with more lead hand feints from Crawford. Canelo's going to be less patient here, which is actually a good example of a main issue in this fight, which is Canelo's almost over-eagerness for landing those hard shots. Though he does the right thing here, he steps forward as Crawford's working his punch feints, and he steps into this very nice jab towards the inside angle. Thinks that might be enough to get Crawford to retaliate, so he starts to step back and look for a counter himself. But Crawford, who is staying super patient, is coming forward with feints, seeing that it's getting Canelo reactive, so he isn't having to do much to deal with the pressure right now. And once he's seen that Canelo steps back in, he just decides to go, step back, break my base, reset off to the right instead. And it's these moments where Crawford's deciding not to engage, and here you can see him speed up his reset as he moves to his right before misdirecting, which is actually causing a lot of frustration. It's a tempo change. If you try to counter everything, eventually the person in front of you can make a lot of reads on those exchanges, but sort of running out the clock with this movement and not engaging when you stereotypically should be is an interesting way of sort of messing with someone. Here he sets his feet, uses a couple of slip feints before moving out to his left just by walking, and then misdirects again, moves over to the right. Now Canelo's just thinking, okay, when is he going to engage? And that's the trap he's getting caught into and why he's relying on his power. Crawford here again isn't going to look for a counter, he's just going to look for defense instead. He knows he's done good work this round, so as he shuffles back slowly to deal with Canelo's forward momentum, he decides he's got space to exit to his right, knows Canelo will probably commit to his left hand since he's moving in that direction. So what does he do? Again, forces the exit as he resets with this wonderful squeeze and resets all the way around to a safer position, speeding up the reset when he needs to be, slowing it down when he needs to be. Really wonderful reset game from Crawford. And now he's probably just occupied Canelo with movement for about 20 to 30 seconds there. So what's he going to do? He's going to break that rhythm by, instead of looking for a counter or defense or another reset, is going to go into his slip look What he's going to do is now shoot 2 to the gloves. So he occupies the front hand, makes a reading on the backhand, which puts Canelo in a bad position. Why? Because he's now tried to parry both shots and put his weight on his back foot to counter. And Crawford goes gloves, gloves, shoots up to the forehead. And then as Canelo sets his feet to counter, Crawford's got the better momentum and balance here, and then lands this nice left hand with this very short left hook, before immediately framing onto Canelo's shoulder, trying to stifle the right hand a little bit. Canelo still manages to throw it, but Crawford can see it because of the frame and manages to block this overhand on the left glove, which is still a hard shot, but Crawford managed to pick his glove up in time. Again, backs off and resets around to the right. So that whole previous exchange was Crawford breaking his rhythm to initiate the attack first, but very safely, by using readings to the gloves to break the distance and to make sure he's only really trying to land his 4th shot and not his first 3. So that would be an example of a great 4 if you're one of my boxers. Anyway, resets around to his right, uses an in and out feint before using his looks backwards with his low lead hand and slip positions so he can temper Canelo. Canelo uses his own wonderful in and out feint, which gets Crawford reactive as he slips off into that high left hand position. Believes Canelo isn't going to engage, so decides it's okay to reset out to the right. Notice he isn't circling too much into the backhand since he feels he can defend the left hook a lot more confidently. Again, doesn't set his feet, but widens his base so he can use a jab out to the right just to occupy the guard of Canelo and make some readings on the distance. Again, continues to circle, is reactive to the feints, but sees there's a lot of space to exit to the right, so continues there. As Canelo shuffles him down towards the left though, he sets his feet, starts to widen his base, step back towards the ropes, use different slip positions to look for baits, which Canelo respects by not engaging, obviously, and decides, okay, I want to move over to my right. How am I going to do this? He's going to do it a different way than just resetting this time. He's going to feint his lead hand a little bit, get Canelo into that squeeze position where he just feints the touch, touches the front hand, and then tries to sneak one through the middle. And this is actually quite a nice exchange of how Crawford gets back the center. In our boxing gym, we say something called 3 jabs, which is basically the notion that you don't have to land them, but if you circle with 3 jabs whilst maintaining that distance, chances are you'll take back the center really easily. And Crawford does it really well here, as he uses his lead hand about 6 different times. Here he feints, touches, jabs, then feints, then touches again, feints again, and then boom, he's back into the center. Very subtly, without wasting too much energy, and being cautious to look for defense behind those jabs as well, so that he doesn't get surprised with the counter as he's circling. Again, decides to break the rhythm, and as he moves off to his right, he doesn't have the correct base to throw. As soon as he does though, steps immediately in, raises up the guard by jabbing high, and then boom, shooting this left hand to the body. Really nice shot. Sends Canelo back because he also was in a square base and was off balance, and that's the end of the round. Really hope you enjoyed that. I mean, so many nuances to this great performance, but this was the round, in my opinion, that stamped it for me, since Crawford literally does whatever he wants to in this round, it feels like. Whether he wants to fight at close range, he can. Whether he wants to counter, he can. Whether he wants to move around, whether he wants to circle and reset, he can. And when he wants to initiate the attack, he does it safely and at the right spots. So it's a really important fight to learn from, and I do hope you enjoyed it. Again, thank you to Turtles Vlogs for the video, because there was no way I could break down this fight without it. So I'm super happy, and in fact, I'll say this, I prefer this angle anyway to usual boxing broadcasting, so there you go. Anyway, I'll probably be back in with some recommendations. There's quite a few more amateurs that I want to do. I might do the Shakur Stevenson Teofimo if I find something similar to this, so there's that to look forward to. But otherwise, take care guys, and I'll see you soon. Happy training.